Here's the news for September 24th, 2019. Welcome to Bwana News Network. Sprint took FCC cash for serving 885,000 people it wasn't actually serving. They actually admitted this mistake. Sprint got caught red-handed taking millions of dollars from the U.S. government for subsidies serving 885,000 low-income Americans who weren't even using the Sprint's service. They violated the Lifeline's program non-usage rule. And apparently this was because Sprint failed to de-enroll inactive users. Providers in the low-income program received a $9.25 monthly subsidy for most Lifeline subscribers and must pass the savings along to customers. For most customers served by the mobile Lifeline product marketed by Sprint and many other providers, the subsidy makes the service free to the customer. It's a pretty good program for low-income families, but Sprint was taking money from people they weren't even serving. The non-usage rule is meant to protect Lifeline from wasting payments on service not provided. Previous investigations showed that companies hawked free Lifeline service aggressively and indiscriminately, knowing that they would get paid each month even if the customers didn't use their phones. And because the consumer paid nothing, he or she had no incentive to relinquish the subscription. So this is pretty bad on Sprint's part. And Sprint said, this is the apology, I believe. Sprint said that it reported the mistake on its own and that it will send the money back to the government. When the error was discovered, we immediately investigated and proactively raised the issue with the FCC and appropriate state regulators. We also engaged an independent third party to review the results of our review and the effectiveness of our operational changes. While immaterial to Sprint's financial results, we're committed to reimbursing federal and state governments for any subsidy payments that were collected as a result in error. $1 million, huh? Not $1 million, 885,000 people. I don't know how much money that equates to. 8.2 million. 1 month's worth of $9.25 payments for 885,000 customers would amount to 8.2 million. A little mistake. It's not going to affect our bottom line. Just a tiny 8.2 million that we stole. Not good for Sprint. And yes, this is probably going to affect their merger. I think I saw a related story to that, how this is going to put their merger in jeopardy because of this massive oversight. Check it out, guys. Over on Ars Technica, they got details. Sprint took a bunch of FCC cash for people it wasn't actually serving. Next story. Apple says that a bug may grant full access to third-party keyboards by mistake. The story comes by way of TechCrunch. And Apple is saying that the bug is in iOS 13 and iPadOS. And it involves keyboards getting full access without you giving it to them, because when you install a third-party keyboard program, you have to explicitly give it full access and give it full access to do the things that it needs to do. This bug allows the keyboard to take full access without you giving it. They said that the bug will be fixed in the upcoming software update, and iOS 13.1 came out today, so did iPadOS, and neither one of these have the fix in them. So if you do run a third-party keyboard, keep in mind that it can grant access without you giving it to it, and it can get access to stuff like emails, messages, and or passwords. Personally, I don't use third-party keyboards at all because I don't like the idea of even that data being collected anywhere. I don't even like how iOS and Android and other OSs out there, I don't even like how they learn your mistakes and your suggestions. I don't even like that, because I remember in the early versions of, especially on Android, it would remember your passwords. If you typed in your passwords into a dialogue more than once, it would come up as a suggestion. I remember when that first happened, I was like, oh, and they fixed that subsequently. But that was one of the early bugs with these things, because they were storing that data. They were trying to learn how you typed, and it's got stored somewhere. Not necessarily the data being leaked to the internet or anything like that. It was stored on the phone, but it can present problems. So I don't like third-party keyboards. I know a lot of people there were some very popular third-party keyboards on Android when I was using that, and I was like, nah, I'm not. No, I'm using stock. I don't even use Google's. Google has their own keyboard thing too. I'm like, nope, give me stock Android or nothing, because I don't want this stuff. Okay, I know that it's going to store stuff, but I want at least amount least amount of stuff stored as possible. And I don't want anything going to the cloud or any type of encrypted cloud or something like that. These are your keystrokes, man. So the key logging capability of these is kind of bad. But check it out, guys. If you have a third-party keyboard program on iOS, make sure that you trust it. Otherwise, I will uninstall it until this gets fixed and just use stock keyboard. That would be my suggestion for you guys. All right. Belarus becomes the first country to make IPv6 mandatory for ISPs. Man, starting in January 2020, Belarusian ISPs will have to enable IPv6 support for all customer connections. You may remember this a few years ago where the sky was falling and people were panicking saying that we're going to run out of IP addresses. We're going to run out of IP addresses. IPv4 is only 32-bit. Was it 32-bit? Yeah. IPv4 is only 32-bit. Your 192.168.0.1 will be used by somebody in Belarus. We need to go to IPv6, which is 128-bit, where the addresses are cryptic and there's no way you can remember them. That's kind of what was happening. So Belarus is going to be the first country to be they're going to be legally mandating that every ISP have it by January 1st, 2020, making them the first. Slowly, a lot of other countries, including the United States, are moving towards IPv6. Like my modem supports it. More of the new cable modems and ISDN. Oh my gosh, DSL modems and fiber modems. I went back a little bit, chat. I'm sorry. Some of the newer modems, all of them support IPv6 now, and there's a slow. It's like a moving mountain. It's like so much IPv6 out there that you can't just flip a switch and have everybody move over. So a lot of services still don't support IPv6. A lot of apps out there, a lot of, I say services because that's like going to be the big thing. Like if you're using some applications out there that communicate to a lot of services out there using whatever RESTful stuff or, web services, and some of them support v6 and some of them don't, you kind of have to deal with that. But yeah, it's about 15% on average currently in Belarus, IPv6, but the adoption rate has sometimes spiked over 30% during past tests. But they're going to make a big, this is going to be interesting because on January 1st, 2020, everybody's going to have it. So that 20 to 30% of usage is going to spike to 100%. So I wonder how much it's going to break, because this stuff breaks stuff. I remember when I changed my modem over to IPv6 to test some stuff, I noticed how many of my, especially my mobile apps, just like, what is happening? I don't know what anything is anymore. What's an internet? What is an IP? What is like, that's not an IP. A lot of the apps were acting up. They've since patched. I even saw some of the patches said that we now support IPv6, blah, 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 blah. And it was kind of funny to watch, just how they panicked. Just like, what? Check it out, guys. Belarus, they're leading the pack, man. I'm proud of them. January 2020, going to be the first ISP to support IPv6. Now, Fallout 76, climbing out of a hole. This is a video game made by Bethesda. Fallout 76 was climbing out of a hole. They had a lot of bad press at launch. The game was bad, garbage. The pre-order stuff they were sending, just awful, man. It was just the pre-order. What was it? That tarp was like made out of some cheap material and some other stuff. I may be thinking about something else, but it's just a lot of things went wrong, and they were climbing out of a hole. Things were getting better, and then they went backwards, and then they went forward. They were getting better. They had some really good patches, and all of a sudden they introduced a pay-to-win refrigerator. It was like, what are you doing? And then they introduced this robot that goes out and collect junk that you can only buy with atoms. It's just bad decisions, good decisions. Bad decisions, good decisions. Bad decisions, good decisions. So they've had some good decisions recently, some bad decisions recently, and now here is something that is just I don't think they could have foreseen this. I actually feel bad for Bethesda now. 20,000 Fallout 76 power armor helmets are being recalled due to a health risk. It turns out the fabric inserts may contain mold, according to the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, and therefore poses a severe health risk of respiratory illness for folks with compromised immune systems, damaged lungs, or allergies. This is probably not great news for buyers who I assume immediately pop the dart thing on their heads, the daft thing, I'm sorry, within moments of purchase. So the fabric inside may contain mold. It's actually very, very accurate to the lore. If you think about it, this is something that would happen in the apocalypse. Yeah. It's actually pretty authentic. I think this actually should... No, I'm just joking. GameStop says they've been contacting customers and offering full refunds. If you picked up one of these bad boys for $150, youch! Back in the day and haven't heard from them, you can still claim your money by getting in touch with the retailer. Details on how to do so can be found on the product recall page. So that's good. This is a good step. This is about the best thing you can do in this situation is just give customers their money back. And tell them to toss the helmet. Don't keep the helmet. Toss it. Just get rid of it. Because somebody's going to put it on. Even if you sell it, somebody's going to be like, ooh. Just lungs full of mold. It just keeps getting worse, man. It gets better, then it gets worse. It gets better, it gets worse. Because I like Fallout 76. I'm having fun with the game. Oh, man. Bethesda's got a mess on their hands. Check it out, guys. This is over on Rock, Paper, Shotgun. They got the details. 20,000 helmets recalled. Our robot overlords have just about completed their takeover. This is the Boston Dynamics robot. These guys also make a dog and some other stuff that just scared the crap out of me. This robot barely could stand up a few years ago. And now, check him out. He's got better balance than the best gymnast. Our robot overlords are just about taking over. It's a parkour robot. It's frightening. They're giving them guns. They're teaching them how to open doors. They're teaching them how to parkour. We're done. We're finished. Game over, man. Game over. I don't know what else to say, man. It's scary. It says a new workflow helps Atlas pull off these smooth moves while also reducing development time and achieving performance success rate of about 80%. First, an optimization algorithm transforms high-level descriptions of each maneuver into dynamically feasible reference motions. I know some of these words. Then Atlas tracks the motion using a model predictive controller that smoothly blends from one maneuver to the next. The exact purpose of an agile bipolar robot is still a bit of a mystery, though. They're being paid by the robots. The robots are paying the humans to make robots until they can make it themselves. And why Google bought Boston Dynamics is yet another puzzle. It's because Google is the robot. Check it out, chat. That's the news. That's the news. We had one submitted story, but that was a duplicate.